Hello and welcome to another edition of The Week That Was, a weekly program where we catch up with the highlights and the news headlines of the week. This week we are looking at 9th November to 15th November and all the headlines that came up during this week. Prominent stories which made the headlines during this week were the hill cutting at Little Vagator, the Didi Kosambi Festival of Ideas was cancelled unceremoniously, and the Mopa versus the Dabolim controversy. To discuss these and other headlines from the Voice of Goa Herald, I have with me the group editor of Herald publication, Mr. Sujay Gupta.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, on 9th November, we look at a story which is exclusive to Herald and which is a story which was done by Herald on the ground, and that has to do with a headline called Party On, Drug Retainer and Excise Department linked Kingpin are destroying a hill for suspected nightclub at Anjuna. Now, when our reporters visited the area, we saw heavy machinery and bouncers, and our reporters posed as tourists who were just straying into that area to look at what was happening, and there are graphic details and pictures of this incident. Then also on November 11th, we have a follow-up story, and even after that, and when we questioned the Comunidad, the Panchayat, all of them seemed to turn a blind eye and seemed to be unaware of what was happening. Now the Comunidad flatly said it doesn't know about this when its own land is being misused. Three Gaonkars said they don't know how a third person is using the land whose lease is still not in the hands of the Gaonkar.
Correct.
And the Panchayat, which is like the policeman of the village, says it doesn't know the illegal activity is going on under its very nose.
See, what has happened in Little Vagator is symptomatic of the malaise that prevails in Goa. And the malaise is this, that authorities which are enshrined by law and have a mandate to protect their village and their resources, authorities which are supposed to see that illegalities don't happen in their respective areas, authorities which are supposed to protect the environment and the land, all these authorities have become complicit in the whole process of violating the very laws that they are enshrined to protect. And what has happened in this Little Vagator incident is that prime Comunidad land is being misused completely in violation of everything else, sans any permissions, to basically level the ground and create some kind of an entertainment venue. And we are calling it a suspected nightclub because of the nature of the constructions that are going on. Now, it is illegal on various fronts. Firstly, the person carrying out or supervising that activity on the ground has no legal standard to even be in that ground. He's an encroacher. Secondly, what happens is every year the Comunidad leases the land to three Gaonkars at the rate of 60,000 rupees for a period of, I think, 4 or 5 months. To carry out basic events and other functions of the village. It is meant only for that you are using Comunidad land to do village functions. Now this small fig leaf of a leeway has been twisted and misused in a manner which is shocking. For instance, in this year, basically more or less the lease is given between November and February, give or take a month or two.
Festival season.
The application for this year is pending. So even the Gaonkars have not been given that lease yet. It is presumptive that they will get the lease. Now, the Gaonkars also at times, or most of the time, illegally sublet that lease to other parties to do what they want. Now here, the Gaonkars are feigning ignorance, but it is very difficult to assume that the Gaonkars were ignorant of the fact that there is a third party who's going and rampantly leveling the land and doing construction activity there without the knowledge of the three Gaonkars. Because when you are waiting for a lease to come for your property, you will obviously be knowing what is going on in that property. The Comunidad also, see, the point is they are not large areas. You are living in the vicinity, in the zone of the activity. The Comunidad cannot be turning a blind eye to the fact that this is happening in front of you. The panchayat, on the other hand, is also basically a custodian of the area.
Yeah.
As you said, policeman.
Yeah.
So the point is, all the three authorities would have very much liked the whole activity to go on unnoticed, as it often happens. There are two things that happened. One, activist DJ called Gambino,
Yeah.
he filed a complaint which nobody expected. And more importantly, Herald took it up as a cause, as an example of what is going on.
Yeah.
And this backlash hit them completely. It is because of the Herald reportage that the authorities were forced to,
They have stopped
to at least carry out the inspection to see. But what was shocking is when the inspection happened, the Comunidad admitted that it is illegal. The Panchayat also agreed that there was no permission given.
Yeah.
The Gaonkars also agreed that they had not got a lease and not given any permission. And funnily enough, the person who was carrying out the illegality, who was the one guy called Govekar, he himself agreed that he had not got permission.
Yeah.
After this, there is nothing left to be said. Only action has to be taken.
Yeah.
Because Section 17A of the TCP Act covers these violations.
Okay.
Now the issue that you need to just get in and take action.
Yeah.
Arrest the perpetrator, take action, file cases. I do not know why the Comunidad is waiting for a Wednesday to come, because they don't meet on any other day except a Wednesday.
Yeah.
The Panchayat is waiting till November 18 to have a body meeting. The Talati, who's been sent by the Deputy Collector to inspect, says, I want police protection.
Yeah.
Now, why does a government official want police protection to do an investigation on an illegality?
Yeah.
So these are things that we need to kind of understand and look at.
Okay. But for the time being, the work has ceased because of the highlight.
Yes, the timing, the
report.
work has ceased. There is no work going on. There are no bulldozers there. There were bouncers there. I don't think the bouncers are there anymore.
Yeah.
So the area has been kind of temporarily cleansed.
Yeah.
But action has to be taken.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why the action is not being taken is because all these authorities know deep within that they are complicit in this violation.
Yeah. Okay. So the second story that we have for this week is November 10th, Thursday,
Right.
wherein old dead horse, almost we can call it, has been flogged, and that is the frozen Louis Berger case,
Yes.
which is unlikely to warm up even out of cold storage. Now, in this case, as pointed out by Herald, James McClung, who is the senior vice president of Louis Berger case, is absconding, and the charge sheet in the money laundering case has been challenged in the High Court. In the higher court by Digambar Kamath and Churchill Alim.
There are two cases actually. One is under the PMLA Act, the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. The other is the basic corruption case.
Yeah.
Now, the issue of the Louis Berger case has been going on for a long time. We kind of flogged it, as it were, primarily because the Congress made a representation to the CBI saying that all these cases are lying in cold storage. Why are you not taking any action?
Yeah.
The Congress's move was also political because Digambar Kamath was in the Congress for such a long time. The day he shifts to the BJP, you think of these cases.
Yeah.
So that also has to be pointed out.
Yeah.
Secondly, the Louis Berger case, again, it's a corruption case. But the point is, remaining in cold storage for such a long time is also shocking, though not surprising.
Yeah.
But the point here is that this was a corruption case. There was a prevention of money laundering case. Now the point is, now you have James McClung, one of the key figures in this whole situation, who was the head of Louis Berger of Asia.
Yeah.
He is not there. There is no interest on the part of Louis Berger to also expedite and send it. And now with Digambar Kamath being in the BJP, I wonder whether there will be any seriousness on part of the government to push this.
Yeah.
But the law has to take its course, and we need to keep reminding that there is a corruption case here. You cannot let it die a natural death in this kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. Then moving on to the third story of this week, that is November 12th, we look at the cancellation of the DD Kosambi Festival of Ideas. What Goa lost for no good reason. And in this story, Damodar Mauzo, who was one of the main guys who was responsible for inviting certain speakers,
Right.
he said that I feel terribly let down.
Correct.
And he says that I was instrumental in persuading the other speakers to accept our invitation.
That is right.
And the local government cancels it.
Correct.
Also, there are other speakers, like they said, Professor Madhvi Menon, who was one of the invitees from Ashoka University.
That's right.
He said the official explanation does not seem to be the real reason, and cancelling a dialogue is never fruitful.
Yes, I agree. the issue is, first we need to understand that D.D. Kosambi was a mathematician, thinker, philosopher, and the point is, at the end of the day, he was basically an exponent of ideas. Okay, it is not just Damodar Mauzo, but as you quoted Madhavi Menon and others as well.
Yes.
The point is that all these scholars who were supposed to come for this D.D. Kosambi Festival of Ideas had so much to give and share.
Yeah.
Firstly to brand them as right wing and or as anti right wing or left wing or liberal or whatever, as if these words are bad words for criminals and all that, itself is wrong fundamentally. Also, what happens is that when you invite so many people, and they are people who are not only from here, they are people apart from Damodar Bab who's here, everybody else is from outside.
Yeah.
So they would have made their arrangements, they would have done preparation. See, for instance, any intellectual forum demands intellectual practice and intellectual man hours put in to any project. So when you are speaking on a forum like this, all the researchers would have done a lot of homework, added to their research, brushed up their notes, spoken to a lot of people, brought in new ideas. So each one of them must have put in at least a month of preparation, if not more.
Yeah.
And the point is, one has to respect this academic activity that has been taking place. They have made efforts. One of the speakers, he even went to Portugal to brush up certain points that was missing for this. So now the seriousness of preparation needs to be respected, and if it is dismissed for a paltry reason like examinations and so on and so forth, everybody sees through it. Yeah. People are respectful and polite and don't call out a minister directly, but everybody sees through it and sees the reasons why this is happening. And I think Goa will be kind of richer and more acceptable and more loved if it becomes a state which allows people from different thought processes to come and engage and participate in this whole festival of ideas. So instead of branding a particular speaker as left wing and right wing, I think it's very important to look at the idea, engage with the idea, and at the same time, if there are contrarian views, then you're well within your rights to present speakers and other people who have contrarian views also.
Because the government chooses the speakers.
Okay. So the idea, which is why what happens is that when things like this happen, then not only do we get a bad name, but Goa also misses out on good intellectual engagement.
And this is I think perhaps the only intellectual forum where people get to discuss ideas, because most of the other events are activities.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. Very true. Very true.
Okay. Then on the same day, that is Saturday, November 12th, we have the story which is actually a summary of the Herald TV debate that was there.
Right.
Is the Mopa name game overshadowing some of the larger concerns that affect land losers?
Right.
Now, to our shock, it was discovered that only 12 or 15 families have been compensated so far in the Mopa project when the project is ready to take off.
Right.
And in this, there are 250 families which have been affected, and there is some 45 crores of compensation under the new act, which was the market rate compensation, which is sitting with the EDC. There is some 15.78 crores, and the government claims another 28.18 crores, which is sitting with the fast track court.
Right.
And also the quantum of compensation which is paid to land losers is about, even under the enhanced rate, it is just about 240 rupees per square meter, when the rate just outside the boundary of Mopa land which is acquired, it is about 10,000 rupees per square meter.
Okay. So now let us look at this Mopa compensation in a manner which goes beyond our debate, our discussion. In the debate, we raised a lot of figures. Now, it is very important to recheck those figures as well. The figures are not incorrect, because those figures are based on what the BJP spokesman said, based on what the government gave.
Yeah.
What we have also learnt is that the Civil Aviation Authority and the people who are doing the project have also kind of questioned some of these figures, saying that all the figures may not be correct. But suffice to say, there are two things that are absolutely sacrosanct. that there is money lying with the EDC, which is part of the enhanced compensation that needs to be paid as per the new Land Acquisition Act.
Yeah.
Okay, that money still needs to be paid. Secondly, with regard to compensation that have to be paid to the original land losers, even as per the earlier Land Acquisition Act, that money has also not been disbursed to a majority of the people.
Yeah.
And one of the main reasons that has been given is basically because land titles are not clear,
Yeah.
or it's not clear as to who they will do it.
Yeah.
At the same time, because this is additional information that one has got after the debate, the Civil Aviation Department and others, and the State Land Acquisition Officer,
Yeah.
who's the main nodal officer, they are also saying that the compensation that has been given according to survey numbers and not according to land titles.
Okay.
So there is no dispute there. At the same time, there are cases pending in the fast track court which are completely related to whether the titles have been given or not. So what we are saying is there are absolutely conflicting things that are coming.
Okay.
While we resolve this confusion, while the government has to resolve this confusion, what is not confusing and clear, the only thing that is consistent in this whole story is that the original land losers, and majority of them, I would say more than 90% of them, are emphatic
Yeah.
that they have not got any compensation.
Okay.
Now, there can be various parts which will take you to the compensation point.
Yeah.
But from the compensation point, the last mile connectivity is actually giving the money to the land loser.
Yeah.
Irrespective of whatever has happened before that,
Yeah.
the point between the compensation, say the compensation packet or compensation treasury to the land loser,
Land losers.
that journey has not been made,
Okay.
which means that there are people who've lost their lands and their livelihood, forced into other kinds of occupation not necessarily given by the government, because even rehabilitation has not been done completely, and are struggling to make ends meet in their daily lives,
Yeah.
without getting compensation for the land that they have given up for a government project.
Yeah.
Now, to me, that is a more important aspect. Firstly, the fact that money has not come to you. Secondly, you are being told that yes, it will ultimately happen. Now, for a poor person who is losing his land and livelihood, he doesn't have the luxury
Yeah.
to say it will ultimately happen. To a rich bhatkar with large amounts of land, he is very comfortable.
Yeah.
But for somebody for whom that land meant everything,
Yeah.
that person cannot be told that wait for 10 to 15 years or whenever the case is cleared
Because
for you to get your
The
compensation.
land is a daily bread sort of.
It's a daily bread. So he
can't-
needs that compensation to repair and restart his life.
Yeah.
So you are putting somebody's life completely on hold
Yeah.
to do your paperwork while your project is going on and your planes are landing and your planes are taking off and you're seeing great progress and development has happened. To me, this is what is unfair.
Then a related story on 13 November, a story related to Mopa. The headline, the page one anchor of Herald reads, Goans don't see how Dabolim will remain open after Mopa opens.
Right.
So now this is a story that has basis in Mopa, Margao and Vasco.
Yes.
People across the board have been
Yes.
called to give their reactions. And this was the big issue that was done by Herald on Sunday.
Yes.
Now, in this, we have various opinions. Now, some say that this government will fully open Mopa only after 2024 elections. Till then, it will allow Dabolim to totter on. And then after that, once Mopa is fully operational, at that time, the full impact will be felt and Dabolim will be.
This is correct, because what happens is, firstly, the state government or its ministers do not have the, I will not say authority, but they are just not, they are not the right people to decide whether Mopa will, Dabolim will continue or not. This is a decision that is going to be taken based on a lot of other industrial factors, other business factors, factors related to the aviation industry, as it were.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it is going to be a commercial decision whether the airport in Dabolim is viable or not.
Yeah.
And this decision will be taken by the people who are using the airport as a service.
Yeah.
Do understand that that airports authority is a service provider to the airlines.
Yeah.
The airlines will have to agree whether this service provider is commercially viable to them or not.
Yeah.
This decision is not a sentimental decision or a political decision.
Yeah.
Airline will not lose money getting into Dabolim because it's politically expedient to the South Goa ministers to have the aircraft landing there.
Yeah.
They will take a decision based on connectivity. They will take a decision based on their landing charges. They will take a decision, domestic airlines will take a decision on how well they can connect with international airlines.
Yeah.
Now suppose you have a say Singapore Airlines flight,
Yeah.
hypothetically, flying into Goa, connecting to UK. I mean just an absolute random example. Or let us not take that example. Let us take an example of, say, okay, let us take an example of any other airline. Even an Air India flight going from Mopa to, say, Heathrow.
Yeah.
Okay, and you have somebody from, say, Karnataka wanting to come to Goa to catch that flight.
Yeah.
Now, a Bangalore-Goa domestic flight will land at Mopa. It will not land at Dabolim and expect the passenger to go from Dabolim to Mopa to take his international flight to London.
Yeah.
So it will not be practical, you know. Secondly, what happens is that there are various studies which say that 2 airports in this kind of a vicinity do not exist. Now, let us look at clear examples. Is the old Bangalore airport functioning? No.
Yeah.
Is the old Hyderabad airport at Begumpet functioning? No. Now, if these airports are not functioning and there are big cities, okay, with far more traffic,
Yeah.
how is Goa so special that a state with 1/10 of the size of these states, okay, will have
How two airports will survive?
Andhra Pradesh and Telangana may have 2 airports, but they're huge states.
Yeah.
Karnataka may have 2 airports. They have an airport in Belgaum, they have an airport in Bangalore. But they're huge states. In a place like Goa, in this kind of a vicinity, you are not supposed to have it. So that's as clear as that.
Yeah. The sixth story that we have, 14 November, is actually about a small project which is located in the town of Ponda.
Yes.
For 2 years, the Ponda STP plant stands at 95% completion. Now, this is a story that we have been following, and the timeline has been given.
Right.
That the project, I think, was commissioned in 2016 and was expected to be completed in 2018.
Right.
And the deadline was again extended to 2021, but this project has not been completed, creating a lot of problems in Ponda.
Yeah, see, so there was a story that kind of came to us, and we took it because the sewage treatment plant in Ponda actually is part of a larger series that we are doing on different sewage treatment plants, and to see whether the whole sewage project in different towns has been perfect or not. And we've seen this anomaly everywhere. So the story essentially was when the Ponda sewage treatment plant was supposed to be completed in the year 2018.
Yeah.
Okay. It was not completed in the year 2018. They took an extension up to the year 2021. It was not even completed in the year 2021.
Yeah.
In 2021, it was said it is 95% complete. Now we are at the end of 2022, it still stands at 95% complete, which means there has been no progress from that time to this time, or when they said it was 95% complete, it was not 95% complete.
Yeah.
One of the two things is correct.
Yeah.
What is happening here, what is even more shocking, is that recently the project proponents have asked permission to dig more roads, to have more chambers inside.
Yeah.
What we are essentially saying is, literally 4 years after your deadline period, which is 2018, you are now asking for digging of roads to create more chambers. So where is your planning?
Yeah.
And there should be some deadlines. And when you are digging up roads, you are causing a huge traffic blockade in that area.
Yeah.
So it's a big situation for people. Now this kind of civic mismanagement and lack of coordination between different authorities has been seen across towns, which is what we wanted to highlight.
Yeah. Okay, and the last story that we have of the previous week is of 15th November, and that is the day we are shooting this episode. Goa's tourism ambassadors shackled by fees, blacklisted for not paying. So basically the tourism stakeholders, that is the shack owners, basically they have said that they have lamented that there are no basic facilities in lieu of the fees which are being paid by them.
Yes, see, the thing is, shack owners across Goa, North Goa and South Goa, they are all recovering from the whole COVID period when they lost a lot.
Yeah.
The government also needs to recover money, which is a fair point. But at the same time, when your shack fees are kind of raised, they were again reduced and again put back. Plus you have garbage fees, then you have GST, then you have other expenses. So every shack ends up spending more than 2.5, 3 lakhs to basically set the ball rolling.
Yeah.
In lieu of that, of course, they also have to fulfill a lot of conditions that the tourism department has put for the shack to be proper.
Yeah.
But the point is there are 2 or 3 major issues that are plaguing them.
Yeah.
One is access to shacks. Now, if you, in our younger days, we did not even have to think, we just go to the beach and go there and enjoy ourselves.
Yeah.
Now to even go to the shacks that you used to visit as a child or as a young adult, you'll find it very difficult to even find where they are now.
Yeah.
Because it is completely behind and fronted by a full sea of concrete.
Yeah.
So you see a sea of concrete before you see the sea.
So most access roads are blocked.
Blocked. So the will to go into a shack also goes. Secondly, basic things like changing rooms, like toilets and other things are something that the government needs to look into it very seriously.
Yeah.
At the same time, I would say, the government also realizes that the shack is also a golden goose, not necessarily in terms of revenue, but in terms of the shack people are brand ambassadors.
Yeah.
The government is aware of that. So I will also put it this way, is that the government will not kind of ignore the shack guys completely, because they know that they are important ambassadors, and I'm sure they are kind of playing some kind of a role to mitigate this issue.
Yeah.
But let us look at it as a conversation and not as a confrontation. Let it be a conversation. Let the government also understand that these are ambassadors and we need to look at them properly. We should let it sit with them on the table, mitigate their problems, and to see that both sides are kind of happy. Because the shack people also need tourists to come in, the tourists need the shack people to come in, and the government also needs the shack people to properly thrive. Otherwise, what's going to happen is, if the expenses become too much, then local shack owners are forced to hand over their shacks or sell them or lease them to people from outside.
Yeah.
And when they take over, the cuisine changes, the music changes, the whole vibe. If that is the case, you could very well be sitting at a beautiful dhaba in Punjab, which would have the same kind of a vibe than sitting in Kanduli, Kalangut.
Yeah.
Now, you don't come from there to come here to enjoy a Punjabi dhaba. Yeah. I would go from here to Punjab to enjoy great Punjabi food in a dhaba.
Yeah.
But I would not like to come to Goa to enjoy Punjabi food in a Goan shack.
Yeah.
That is where the issue lies, primarily.
Okay. So on that note, we wind up the week that was. We hope that you enjoyed the stories and the analysis and the highlights and the news that goes behind these stories. We hope that you join us again on Herald TV. I thank my guest, Mr. Sujay Gupta.
Thank you.
For giving his insights and analysis. We hope to see you next week. Keep watching Herald TV.